Jason Fischer.
Yeah.
Nice to talk to you one-on-one in person. Now, last time we spoke,
Yep.
not the last time we spoke, the last time we spoke like this was during COVID,
Yes.
and we were scratching for community, really, because
Yep.
some government took it away from us.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Any sense of normality?
And I've always found you an interesting person. And interesting is an interesting word.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll take that as a compliment, but whatever.
No,
we'll
figure
go
it
with
out.
it. Yeah, it's fine.
Watch to the end, you'll see, all right? But anyway, you got a passion for a bunch of things. And whilst we had a talk over Zoom, thank you, Zoom.
Yes.
I thought it was time to have another yak.
Yeah,
And,
it's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while.
Years, yeah.
I actually, before I knew you properly, I remember doing when you had Harley Davidson,
Yeah.
I remember doing a shop ride with you guys, and it was all pretty orderly
Yep.
on the way to Port Stephens.
On the way, yep.
On the way home, however, there was a new order. We'll call it the New World Order.
Yep.
And and I remember I had the missus on the back, and I had no fuel, and I didn't care.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, I'm keeping up. And,
Yep.
and apparently you were in the middle of all that. I suspect you towards the front.
Yeah, yeah.
But I always remember having a good time, right?
Yeah.
And
It
that,
was a good ride.
it was a good ride. And I thought we'd have a chat tonight.
Yep.
Now, I looked you up on AI. I don't know if you've ever done that.
No.
No, well
No, that's a little bit scary.
I have, right?
Oh, yeah, can't
You
wait.
ready?
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your life.
Oh, yeah.
So I said, do a deep dive on Jason Fischer.
Anything could happen here.
Fucking hell. So I'll miss that out.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Is there anything we could talk about?
Yeah, it said Jason Fischer is a lifelong Central Coast, New South Wales automotive professional. Now,
Well, that's a lie.
Now I don't know. It is a fucking lie.
Yeah, yeah.
Mechanic and businessman with over 35 years in the industry, deeply embedded in the local car and motorcycle scene as a hands-on enthusiast who's managed major dealerships, prominent car classic museums, and now runs his own thing. And actually still states he was the GM of Harley Davidson Central Coast.
Yeah.
Are you?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think
That was
so.
a while ago.
Fucking grok.
Like a lot, yeah.
Elon, sort it out. Right.
Get it together.
But park that, and I was looking to use other words, it didn't work out.
Yep.
Apparently you're born in Woy Woy.
Yeah, well, I wasn't born in Woy Woy, but I grew up in Woy Woy, that's for sure.
Where were you born?
It's a bit of an interesting one. I was born in a house in Yagoona. So literally just a random house. And I was then taken to Crown Street Women's Hospital, where back in the late 60s, early 70s, there was hundreds of thousands of adoptions happened. And I was adopted. I sat there for 6 weeks in I don't know, some would say a cage. And then my parents come and picked me up and took me away.
Chose you.
Chose me. There was other choices too, so it must have been a pretty good looking fella, I reckon.
Well, and actually...
They hadn't had a chance to get to know me yet, I guess.
What you just said then was pretty serious.
Yeah.
But all I could think of is when my son chose their dog.
Yep, same.
Yeah. And it was... And I go, wow.
Yeah.
That's a big start.
Yeah, it was big. Not to get too much into it, but my mum, and it's a pretty common story and one that probably people don't talk about very much and I think should be spoken about. My mum was 16 years old. She fell pregnant at Burleigh Heads and she literally walked on her own to Sydney. So hitchhiked and walked on her own. She thought her parents were going to kill her. She lived under the house with the dog. The old story, her parents were alcoholics. They used to, run a local pub, put cigarettes out on her, all this sort of crap. So she was pretty badly neglected.
Start,
yeah, tough start. And then to have to walk all that way on your own as somebody that's 15, 16 years old is just amazing, really. And then she was declared a missing person in 1970. So no one knew where she was. They just, her family, when I finally found them only a few years ago, just assumed she was dead. So she was very surprised when I found her. That was
And actually, we're here to talk about motorbikes.
I know, but it's just an interesting thing,
I
right?
want to talk about this.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so, like, how did you find it?
Well, I had a good life. I got to play cars and, all the stuff that we're going to talk about. But, I had a good upbringing, all that sort of stuff. But as I got older, I started to get, a few more illnesses and things like that. And I kind of worry for my kids as to, if there's any background of anything serious. So I did a DNA test and I was on Facebook, of all things, and found this Facebook group and sort of asked for help, and a lady offered some help, and she said, she looked at my DNA and she said, I've found your mum, she's only 10 minutes from your house.
Fuck
all this, so it gets better. Her words were, get dressed up, put something nice like a freaking vacuum cleaner salesman, go and knock on the door and tell her who you are. And I'm pretty big on sort of gut feel, and it just didn't feel right. And anyway, so I put another post on another Facebook group, and this lady said to me, can I have a look at your stuff? And I said, yeah. And I said, it doesn't matter. This lady's found my mum, so, I've got to get dressed up and go and see her. And she goes, don't do that. That's not your mother. And I said, imagine turning up to some poor bugger's house, knocking on the door and saying, by the way, she was wrong. It was just a random. So took 3 years. This lady helped me for no money, which was just amazing. And it kind of, restores your faith in humanity a little bit. I went to births, deaths and marriages over the 3-year period a few times. They would always just give me dog shit for answers. Anyway, the last time I went in, I was looking for a marriage certificate or some sort of marriage information, because mothers change from maiden names to married names, and that's where they get lost in the system. So anyway, I get a phone call. Bad news, we've lost all your details, all this sort of, it was just a bullshit thing. And then a couple of days later, I get this phone call, and it was a lady from Births, Deaths and Marriages. And she said, look, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but I've got some information on someone I think might be a mother, different name, but, I just have a hunch. Can you not tell anyone who I am? And, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I said, that's cool. And she goes, and confirm it before you approach her. I said, I'm not, I'm 50 years old. So anyway, she said, I'm not supposed to send you a letter with the information, but it's on its way. It'll be at your letterbox by tomorrow type stuff. Anyway, when I got it, the lady who'd been helping me, Diane, her name was, and I'll be forever grateful for that. She rung me within half an hour and said, I've found your mum. No. And
how'd you feel? Well,
it's a bit, I don't know, it's a hard one, because I had no emotional attachment to these people. I didn't know them from bar of soap, and again, I had a good life, so there was really no issue. So I sort of was a bit, that's exciting, but more for the answers to the questions than I didn't need anything, you know what I mean? And I went into it with the full philosophy that, I had good people around me, all that sort of stuff. I don't need these people unless they're good people. And literally I said to them, as brutal as it sounds, if you're a knob, I don't want to know you. But if you're good people, then I'll keep you, we'll stay in touch. And so I turned up, I found her, sent her a letter, and nothing happened. And then for months and months. And in the adoption world, it's a bit taboo that you contact, other siblings and all this sort of crap until it's been okayed, which is a bit crap, really.
Mate, I've seen you ride.
Yeah.
You haven't fucking out the rules.
No, so the rules, I rung this lady up that'd been helping me. I said, listen, let's kick a few doors in, Yeah. She goes, that's not a good idea. And I said, no, I'm going to kick a few doors in with you or without you. She goes, right on, let's do it. Because deep down they want to.
Put the war paint on.
Yeah. And so we did. So I went after, I found a couple of half-sisters and I sent them messages. Nobody answered. So then I said, righto, have they got any kids? And we found a granddaughter, and I said, how old is she? She's 20 or something. So she was over 18. I said, righto, let's hit her. So I sent her a message, and she sent me a message back saying, I'm happy to talk to them. See what they say. So they spoke to one of them, and one of the girls and my sisters thought I was some sort of scammer. Yeah, because, it just
Yeah,
come
yeah.
out of...
Random, yeah.
Yeah, random. And then, so she rang her mum, who was my mum, and my mum said, no, that's not true. That didn't happen. Because,
Well, you're not going to admit it.
No, some people really struggle with that. But
That was a part of my life I just want to hide.
100%. When they were kids in the 1970s, or it's really kids, they were told he's never going to contact you again. No one will ever find you. She was declared a missing person. None of her family had ever found her, and so she just, the default was no, I don't know what you're talking about. And then she contacted me and said, "Oh, Mum doesn't know anything about it." I said, "Well, DNA doesn't lie. This is one thing that I've got sort of up my sleeve. Don't want to be an arse about it, but this is reality." And then a day later, my mum rings her and says, "No, that's true. Yeah, I did leave a
So did
boy."
you meet her?
Yeah, so I got to meet her. I got to meet her twice, I think it was, and my kids got to meet her, which I'm grateful for. And then she passed away.
Yeah, right. So how old was she when you met her?
Well, I was 50, so she was like 66, I suppose.
Yeah, right.
So only young, but she had lung cancer and really struggling with it. So it was good timing. I'm kind of glad I did it. Again, I didn't know her, but it answers some questions, I suppose.
Yeah.
And
are your genes all fucked up, or you all right?
No,
Aside from the obvious things.
No, I'm all right.
Bullshit.
I would declare myself perfectly normal.
I'm calling bullshit on that.
Yeah.
But there's no...
No, there's no real issues.
bloodline.
But the really interesting thing is that's one side of the family, but I also found a half brother. Getting back to the thing we're actually talking about. So I ran the car museum at that time. I was the GM of the Gosford Car Museum. And when I contacted my brother, again, taboo, send him letters, don't just ring him, all that sort of stuff. And I said, no, stuff this. I'm just going to ring him. If he's really like me, he'll cope.
Yeah.
So I got on the phone and said, hey, good news, I'm your brother.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and he was like, yeah, that's super cool because he's just like me. And as it turned out, he ran he still does. He has a classic car restoration place.
Fuck off. It's
in
in
Queensland,
the genes, isn't it?
They say that, and it really is. And so I was.
So where is he?
He's in Queensland.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So he's still in Queensland. We talk most weeks. We're the same.
Yeah.
Like we are the same.
Well, he's a little bit fucked up too, to be honest.
Well, he is, and it's funny because it's one of those things. He goes, "Oh, it'd be really cool if we grew up together." And I said, "Oh, listen, man, like if we grew up together, you'd be still in jail, and I'd be just getting out." Like I'm pretty sure this isn't how this is going to go. Yeah. But the real irony is, so we both ran classic car places. That's cool. But when I lived in Queensland, for a number of years, and I ran a couple of motorbike dealerships and car dealerships up there. But I worked for Zups Holden.
No, the Zup.
Yep.
I could have taken some money off me over my life.
Yeah, well, I would have probably been part of that.
Bastard.
But
that was a shitbox fee.
You're welcome. Oh, no, it wasn't that. I'm not that old. But so he worked for the opposition Holden dealership at the same time we actually competed against each other and selling cars. And he'd walk around like Brisbane or the Gold Coast and people go, hey, Jace, how you going? And he'd be like, who the hell's Jace? Didn't make any sense.
So he looks like you.
So he looks like me as well.
Well, actually, sorry. You look like him.
I'm better looking.
Oh.
I'm younger, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
Not by much, but a month. So as it turns out, the old man was like tapping anything that moved, and if it didn't move, he'd push it, I think.
So was he a plumber? He just loved taps?
No, he's not. Definitely, he was a hustler. So he was a horse trainer. And he was part of the fine cotton scandal. Remember that, where they painted the So he was part of that.
Well, that makes sense. You bogged that car
hustler,
up and then I bought it from you.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Car salesman, bike guy. But yeah, kind of cool though. And they say it's sort of genetic. The bikes and the car thing, has to come from somewhere. And there it is. So,
well, to see another Jason that has your totally different path.
Yes,
Right?
totally
so your
different.
brother's totally different path. and
Yep.
totally passionate about the same stuff.
Yep.
It's a little scary, to be honest.
Oh, the world does not need two of us.
No.
100. Like,
Well, I struggle with one.
you're right.
But,
Yeah, I know. But same thing. Like he rode bikes. He did, all the same stuff that I did. We really led fairly parallel lives, but didn't know each other existed. So, which is, like I said, people say, oh, the car and the bike thing, it's in your blood. Well, it's quite possible it is.
Well, the Big Start. I mean, that was a bloody good story. Like,
there you go.
Actually, I follow you on Facebook.
Yes.
And I've observed that parts of that story has been on Facebook. But
Yes.
I didn't know the whole story.
Yeah.
So thanks for the share.
Yep.
I won't tell anyone.
No, okay.
Right?
Just keep it between us.
Just between us.
Yeah.
But I got a couple of friends that were like, I got one friend in particular that his words, my parents didn't want me.
Yep.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
Big statement.
Yes.
And I grew up in a Catholic bloody, I'm going to call it a nunnery. I don't know what that
Yes.
was. But
Yeah.
he was brought up by the nuns. And I remember talking to him going, what's it like growing up knowing that you weren't loved by your parents?
Yes.
And you might have been loved, but they let you go.
Yeah.
Which also means you could easily put that to... And he's a tough bastard, this guy. And it all makes sense. He's had to be, right?
Yes.
And as I listen to your story and then reflect on his, I go, you've already said that your parents... that chose you, he's the one. Look at him. And I could just imagine that they were so excited to have you, and out of a gap that they had, and I made that up.
No, that's true. It fills a void. Yeah, absolutely.
Out of a gap they had, they said, "This is the guy I want."
Yep.
But somewhere in the beginning, it would, until you knew the back end of that story, you'd have to sit in. What's my roots? What's all that about? How, it's because it's part of your identity. So how'd you go with, there's a 50-year gap.
Yes.
Did it bother you, or was it a thing that in the back of your mind, or you didn't really think about it?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting one. So up until I was about 17 years old, I had no idea. So my mum that brought me up, I always thought she looked like me. My dad and I were very different. He was a rugby league coach. I didn't want to play rugby league. We were just
such a disappointment.
We were just, I was just a disappointment. It's funny. I was a, martial arts kickboxer, all that sort of stuff. And I remember doing a kickboxing demonstration at, the Wong show, Gosford show, one of those. And he came and he saw it and he said, "Oh, you're actually pretty good at that." And I was like, "Yeah, I've been training since I was 8. If you bothered to come, you'd know, So, that kind of pissed me off. Yeah. But it is. So when I was sort of 17 or whatever, I found out, and the only bit I really struggled with genuinely was everything that I'd been told that was my history was no longer my history. Yeah. Suddenly, I kind of didn't belong anywhere, and that I really did struggle with because, I was proud of my grandparents. I was proud, all those things. And so I really struggled with that.
Normal.
It was my normality, And then, and the other thing I really struggled with is I'm pretty brutal. Like, I'm pretty straight up, always have been. It was if they were prepared to lie about that, what else did they lie about? Yeah. So there was that element of doubt. And so from then on, I didn't become a loner, but I had to become happy with just being me. So what did that, what come of that? I don't know. Some people really like me. Some people really hate me. I don't really care. I'm kind of happy with just being me. And the other thing, a lot of these adopted people, and not that it's a problem, but some people really struggle with, their identity and all that sort of stuff. I literally just had to become happy with being me. And the one thing I did look at as a big positive was that everything that I'd done or achieved, and which I try and, it's not necessarily when you talk in terms of, billions of dollars or anything, but like I'll have a crack at anything. Yeah. The big thing that I am proud of is that anything that I've done or achieved, I've done. Yeah. So I haven't had the backing. I've just gone, you know what, let's do this shit. Yeah. And I think that's,
self-made.
It's a bit of a church up, but like I say it all the time, and I'm big. I know you guys talk about the mental health thing, and I'm big on that because I think.
Don't fucking point at me when you go mental health.
Well, you've got some issues,
Yeah.
but I feel like that it's a bit of a taboo subject, even though people talk about it all the time, and I think it's important that people talk about what is an issue for them and what isn't an issue. I think we talk about what in our world is crap, but I say it all the time. Plenty of people would love to do half the stuff I've done, and you the same, and but
we're privileged, aren't
we are really, but how did we do it? Because we just did it, and I've got guys that are my age that are happy to sit there and watch TV and not really do anything cool, and like you were saying of the ride back from Nelson's Bay or Port Stephens or whatever. Just have a crack at it and you'll be okay. I think it's important, and hence the reason I like watching, even though I don't get involved in the riding. I haven't really ridden a bike for quite some time now. I quite like.
Come here, I'll fucking slap you. Right?
Oh well, I'm just busy being busy, but it is one of those things. I watch some of the stuff and the banter that you guys go on with that bloody shit box of yours.
Hey.
No, but that bike of yours, and it cops a fair bit of grief.
Keep
and it's me,
talking.
it's me living the dream through you guys. Yeah, but that's cool because it's people out having a crack, and I'm big on it. I don't care if you're a car guy or you're a bike guy or whatever. If you collect stamps and it keeps you real and keeps you going, collect stamps. I think that's important.
Yeah, and actually, all fair. And what I got from what you said was, whatever your thing is, get into it.
You got to do it.
Whatever your thing is.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm thinking about, technically, you're from Queensland.
No, technically, initially,
100%, right?
Burley Heads.
So you gone to Queensland, you gone south.
Yep.
You ended up in Woy Woy.
Yep. Downtown Woy Woy.
So good old Woy Woy. It was like someone's got a stutter.
Yep.
They don't mind the Woy.
Yep.
Woy. And actually, it's like the dinosaur. Woo, woo, woo.
It was a good place. It was a good place to grow up, though.
Yeah,
like it was a good place to grow up.
So when was the Tell us about the first time you thought, I fucking love engines.
Well, we were talking about earlier. When I was a surfer. I was always a surfer. I always wanted to ride motorbikes, all that sort of stuff. My parents, ironically, wouldn't get me a motorbike. I'd had to buy it myself if I got one. So I'd ride the boys or everyone else's, and it's kind of funny. Everyone talks about these e-bike kids and how they run amok and all that sort of stuff. And in groups, that's a real problem. But I remember riding a YZ80 from Carrong to Woy Woy, so it's one of those things. So from a very young age, I was always a car or bike guy. I just was. I was a bit strangled because I couldn't ride, because my parents thought it was dangerous and all that sort of stuff.
Apparently, it is.
It is dangerous. It's very dangerous. But, well, no, you know what? When all those bike shops and stuff that I worked at, people go, bikes are dangerous. And I go, you know what? Not one of them has tried to hurt me while I'm standing beside it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's only when I get on it or an idiot gets on it that it becomes a problem, because otherwise just sitting there, perfectly safe.
Well, Jason, I had my mate's missus go to me, I work in ER, there's bike riders coming all the time, right? Yeah. And I'm like, that's fair.
Yes.
Where are they going to go? Bunnings?
Yeah.
Like, of course they're going to fucking go there. That's where you go
when
you're going to see them all, right? But you
just
don't fall off. Yeah.
No, and, I think we've all, had a decent crash over the years. But yeah, there is a little bit of this, sort of cotton wool syndrome thing that goes on. And, I think people should get out and, ride their bikes or drive their cars or do whatever. My daughter got no interest in, a little bit of interest in motorbikes, but, she rides a horse and she fell off, and the place that it's at, said, the horse is dangerous. And I was like, really? No shit, Sherlock Holmes. Like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's just ridiculous.
Shit.
Yeah, if I wanted to, like, wrap her up in cotton wool, I'd just get her to sit at home and play PlayStation. Like, that's a ridiculous statement. So, I think people do, and it's not for everyone, but the bike thing, if you're into it, get into it. But if you I was also big on, if you're not a bike person, you probably shouldn't be on one.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people go, I want to ride a motorbike, and I'm like, you got to be a bit of a bitch on the road. You got to attack the road, or it attacks you.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, you become a victim.
Yeah, and that's something worth talking about. Like when I was working at a bike dealership in Queensland, we had a guy who would come in, who was the nicest bloke in the world, just always want to talk crap, and not really a bike guy, just a bit of a cool kid, all those sorts of things. And anyway, he finally bought an R1, and
which Kevin, if you're watching,
right in the
slowest fucking bike ever, but keep going.
Well, until you're riding at home and you hit your house. So true story. He finally picked up his bike, because in Queensland at that time you could do, if you had a full car license, you could do a full bike license in one day. Yeah. And so he picked up his R1, rung his family, and said, "I'll be home in 10 minutes." As he's coming down the cul-de-sac,
ran into the house
and killed him in front of his whole family. So, so with selling bikes comes a little bit of baggage as well. They because you get to know people. Well, I tried to get to know people for who they were. Not necessarily lifelong friends, but and then to
There's
have
responsibility around it.
100%. And then to have that happen was just like devastating. So I say they're not dangerous, but if somebody with no skill or, all that, no experience gets on one, then the potential is there to get hurt. Yeah. So, but again, what do we do? Do we sit at home? Do we just do nothing? I mean, that's ridiculous. So.
I was on the Ultra once going down the South Coast. Had the girl on the back plugging away, and it's Captain Horsepower. Anyway, I come up behind this touring. What are those 3-wheel fucking things?
Oh yes, Can-Ams. Yep.
Right, and it was like the Ultra, only with 2 wheels at the front. I'm just, and they're doing 80 and 100, and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, and I couldn't pass. Finally get up, and I'm just looking at him with disdain. Get up next to him. Well, if him and her weren't 85. I'll go fucking he.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
good.
I'm like, I went
so
from
good.
instant, get the
That's
that, right?
Yeah, that's living. That's
and I
living.
go, there's plenty of people at 65 with a blanket over their knee.
Yes.
Going, this is the end of my life.
Yeah.
And bikes give us that. So, what was your first bike?
YZ80J.
Right, that was the one that you broke the law in ripping up.
And then,
right?
but a road bike. Well, there's the funny one. I had a few road bikes, but if we can just delete this part. But I never had a license. For a long, long time, didn't have a license. I had GSX R750s and, all sorts of stuff. And when I moved to Queensland in 97, so I was 27 years old, I decided that was probably the time. So I went, because you could
Did you learn it, but you learn a plate?
No,
not
not ever.
You had that written all over you, yeah.
So in Queensland, if you had a full license, you could get that pretty quickly, and so I turned up at the rider training thing on a Fireblade, not a 250 Fireblade, an actual Fireblade, and the guy, we're all sitting down at the thing and they're doing the lecture, and the guy says, "Oh, so what do you guys ride?" And one bloke puts his hand up, says, "Oh, I've got a TTR 250," and the guy goes, "Yeah, that's a great bike," and another bloke goes, "I've got an FZR 250," and the guy's like, "Yeah, that's a great bike," and he says to me, "What do you ride?" And I said, "Oh, I've got a Fireblade." And he goes, "Oh yeah, those 250 Fireblades, they're great." I said, No, I've got a CBR 900 RR. It's one of those Tiger Blade things." And he goes, "What?"
Ooh.
And he says, "Where have you got that?" And I said, "Oh, outside." He goes, "What, you rode it here?" I said, "Yeah, well, I couldn't get the bus. Like I just rode here." And he goes, "So you really rode that here?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." He goes, "I think you'll be okay."
Yeah.
So I did. By lunchtime, he just said, "Go home, mate. You're all good."
Yeah.
But it was pretty funny because when they did they did the thing where you had to come around a top witch's hat and you had to accelerate as hard as you can and then brake as hard as you could when they drop their hand down. Well, I don't know if you've ever done that on a Tiger Blade, but if you accelerate as hard as you can, the wheel's right up in the air.
Yeah.
And then if you brake as hard as you can, so's the back wheel.
Yeah, well, that was in my mind when you said
it. Yeah. So as I've I've
going.
accelerated, and then I've pulled up. He goes, you really are a dickhead, aren't you? I said, I'm still here. And he goes, right on. And off I went. And so, yeah, it was, so then I got a license and ended up working in bike shops.
Well, the problem when you get a license is you got something to lose.
That's right. It was always a problem, yeah.
So, you know, the YZ, the Fireblade, what's the bike you own that you wished you still had? Yeah. Don't you fucking dare say the YZ80.
No. No, I bought a SP2, Honda SP2.
Johnny Hinsby, you'd be fluffing on that.
Yeah.
Johnny H loves it.
Yeah, it really was. And that was a really interesting bike because I bought it brand new. They were doing a run-out thing. They were, you know, people weren't buying them. They'd sort of lost interest in them, and I bought it brand new, so it was cheap. Yeah, brand new. Was.
No, you were that old.
Yeah, it was 17.6. I'm that old. Anyway, I bought it and I hated it. I didn't like it. There was nothing about it I liked. It had no suspension, you know, all a different sort of power. And I just couldn't get used to it. And I'm big on, especially when people are going to go and buy a bike. If they sit on a bike and go, yeah, that's for me, who cares what your mates say?
Yeah.
That's for you. I'm big on that. And I just bought this thing because it was cool. And I remember I was talking to a guy who had one, and I said, do you like it? He goes, yeah, I love it, you know. And I was like, oh, I don't really like mine. And he was like, what? He goes, it's an icon. I said, I don't give a shit. I hate it. I just couldn't get it. And anyway, he goes, oh, come riding one weekend with me. I said, you know, can you really ride? And he goes, yeah, I can really ride. I said, cool. I'll come with you and I'll follow you because I figure if you can go through a corner, I can go through a corner. Anyway, this was in Queensland, so I'm up through Mount Tamborine.
Which is a nice ride.
A good ride. Yeah. And I ended up getting to the pub on the other side and we pulled up and I remember I was shaking and he goes, you all right? And I said, oh, that was the coolest ride I've ever done. Yeah. And he goes,
can ride.
Yeah, could ride. Like seriously
ride.
Could ride. And he goes, oh, do you like your bike? And I said, oh, man, what a bike. Like,
so you just put a pussy on it, really?
I was just being a big sook. Yeah. But if you've got no confidence, again, that's another reason, you know, if you're riding a bike, if you've got no confidence, you probably shouldn't be riding it. And so, yeah, once I sort of, I guess, fell in love with it all over again, it was super cool. And so I wish I was working at bike shops then though, and I was getting brand new R1s and all sorts of stuff as demo bikes, so I didn't need to own one. So I sold.
So the SP is the one you wish you still had?
100%.
What's the one that you had that you wished you'd never got?
Oh, probably GSX 750.
What happened there?
Oh, only because it just had bad juju. It was just one of them bikes.
Unreliable, or you just kept falling off?
No,
or a bit of both.
No, I remember having it at my brother's house, and I went over to get it one day, and it wasn't there. And I said to him, "Oh, where is it?" And he goes, "Oh, such and such." I won't name him because, not that anyone I know here, but he said you would let him ride it. I said, "Well,
you probably should check with me first."
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So anyway, and so I'm standing there talking to him. Old mate walks up the road, and I said, "Oh, where's my bike?" I'll dumb this down a little bit. "Where's my bike?" And he goes, "Oh, I took it over to show a bloke and it fell over in his driveway." I said, "Yeah, okay." I said, "So much happened to it?" He goes, "No, just broke the mirror, but he's going to get a mirror for it and I'll get it back to you." I said, "Yeah, okay, that's cool. Like, no big deal. That happens. We've all fallen off one." And then a couple of weeks later, I'm pretty easy going. A couple of weeks later, no bike. And anyway, because we didn't have really mobile phones so much then, and I saw him. I said, "Where's my bike?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I'm just waiting on some parts. It's over at such and such's house."
Mirror is singular, not plural.
Yeah,
I said parts.
I said, let's go to his house.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we went to his house, and as it turns out, he tipped it upside down on a roundabout and
fell over in the driveway.
Fell over in the driveway.
How long you been living on the roundabout?
Well, he was probably a bit scared to tell me. So this is a really interesting story. So I said to him, "Listen, get my bike back. You have 1 week to get it back. I'm not playing any games if you don't get it back. I'm going to come and get your car. I'm going to take your car, and then when you get me bike back, I'll give you the car back.
So how long have you been part of the Soprano family?
Well, it gets better. So some dickhead steals his car.
Fuck. And then he blamed you.
100%.
Oh,
But when he's driving away from his house, loses control of it, hits a telegraph pole. And then, so he comes around and goes, "You're an arsehole, you've wrecked my car, boss." I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I did learn a fairly good lesson that day, and that was don't make baseless threats. Unless you're actually going to steal his car and drive it into a telegraph pole.
Or buy the 750.
So, it bloody haunted me forever. It was just one of them bikes that, I'll never own one again. You couldn't give me one. Bad juju.
So, motors and engines, and I'm interested. If I look Facebook community, independently, I know people that know you, but I don't. I know them not through you.
Yes.
And I know if I look at common friends, I'm like, oh, they fucking know. And what I've learned is you fucking know everybody.
Yeah.
Right. And
sometimes.
Yeah. And there's a strong there's a strong vibe around cars. I know you buy and sell, flip a few cars and whatever. And although we met on motorbikes.
Yes.
And that anything with an engine probably gets you juicy.
Yep.
But the museum must have been an interesting thing. You always had some bloody car that was worth a fucking million.
Yep. Or 5.
So, yeah. So when you took one of them for a lap around the block, what was the most funnest car that you took for a lap that when you're sitting at the lights, everyone's looking?
I mean, Ferrari's always the way, isn't it? I mean, everyone, whether they think you're a wanker or not, knows what a Ferrari is, I
if you're
suppose.
looking at one, you go wanker, but if you're driving, you go, I don't fucking care.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
I remember driving up Carrong Hill, and I know I'm not really a Ferrari fan, but I remember driving up Carrong Hill, my wife rings, and I sort of answered it, and she goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Just listen to this."
Yeah.
She's like, "What?" And I said, "Listen." I said, "I get it now. I just get it."
Yeah.
And she's like, "You're an idiot." Like, what are you talking about? I said, "I'm driving a Ferrari up Carrong Hill."
At 60 is amazing up there, isn't it?
Yeah, at 60. I said, "It's just singing. Like, listen to it." She goes, "I'm going to hang up now and I'll call you back later." She had no interest whatsoever.
Yeah.
I was way more excited than probably than anybody else. So I think the car that was the coolest I drove was probably a Lamborghini Countach.
Oh, yeah.
But everybody says never meet your heroes. And that was that car. Like, I had posters of them on my wall, all that sort of stuff. And then when I actually drove one, I thought, what a heap of shit. No good. I did a TV thing for the Today Show with that Lara Vella. And we're driving through Gosford, and I stalled it at the traffic lights. And we had cameras and stuff all around, and everyone was mic'd up. And
that's gold.
Yeah, and I said, "Do not put that on the television." And she goes, "Why?" And I said, "Because I'm going to cop so much shit over that." No, because I said a few things in the meantime, but
they could have bleeped it. I would have done it.
Yeah, but I was really I was struggling to get a gear, let's say, on the TV, and that was enough, But yeah, a cool car, like just everyone's sort of, not everyone, but an icon for a lot of people, but absolute garbage. The most fun car was obviously the amphibious car, the one that I drove in Sydney Harbour.
Nerdy as fuck, but awesome.
So stupid, really.
Yeah.
But
it's like,
let's do this.
I've got an idea. Let's make a car that can cross Sydney Harbour.
Well, that was actually. So what happened with that? Well, the actual story with it was we bought it out of America, and when it got here, the Australian government, in their wisdom, fined us for asbestos traces. So we had to work out a way to make this car, or to sell this car, because the museum wasn't really a museum; it was a big car dealership, I suppose. And so we had this car that owed us way too much money, and we're sitting around a meeting one day going, "What are we going to do with that yellow thing?" And I said, why don't we do something like really crazy with it? And they're like, what are we going to do? I said, let's drive it in Sydney Harbour. The guy that owned the museum goes, are you really going to do that? I said, it's your car. I don't give a shit. I'll do it.
Yeah.
So
did you get that?
I'm doing this.
Put the floaties on.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
and so there's some pictures of me on the internet. One of the pictures at the time was done by Getty Images, and it was seen by 112 million people throughout the world because it was...
No one of those cunts, I shouldn't say cunt, but no one of those cunts come around to your house and, mate, you're famous.
Sort of.
Flog your car.
yeah, maybe. But it was just one of those things that it was so quirky and different. And, you got to do it. And, I mean, TV, it's a bit like this. This is a way bigger room than it looks here. No, the TV thing, I'm halfway across Sydney Harbour, and my boat was like right there. It's like a foot behind the thing, because I'm not even that good a swimmer. Because I'm just like, man, if this thing goes down, I'm not going with it.
On the water, I'm like, any little bloody splash, that thing's...
Well, it was pretty funny because Lara Vella was sitting in the passenger seat, and
she's going for bloody...
Yeah, she's hilarious. She's just so lovely and normal. She's so normal. And I remember we're driving across the harbour, and
which is a set of words.
Just a set of words. Yeah, you're right.
In your life.
No, anyway, there's water coming in on her side, and she's looking at me and looking at the floor, and it's all wet. And she goes, "Oh, is this meant to happen?" I said, "Only on your side, not mine. I don't give a shit." And she goes, "Why is it happening?" I said, "Well, you've let yourself go a little bit. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it." She's like, "You're an idiot. Get me out of here." But so the Manly ferry then circled around us, that ferry McFerry face or whatever the hell they called that stupid thing, did a full circle around us. And there's all these like tourists waving, and I'm like, fuck. Trying to get it, wave. They're thinking I'm waving. They're like, "Oh, very good, very good." I'm like, "Get away! You're gonna sink us." So in the list of cool stuff that isn't really that cool, it's
top of the list.
Yeah, 100%. Like it was a opportunity of a lifetime. My kids got to go in it, and it's stuff that they'll have something to talk about. You know what I mean? So yeah, the museum was a cool time, and there was some cool stuff that I got to drive and hang out with.
Interesting, mate. We only got memories. We're only left with memories.
Yes.
And if you watch anyone or been with anyone the last parts of their life, and the older we get, the more opportunity we got. I'm going to less 21st and weddings.
Yes.
And more of the back end of
things. There's one coming up, sadly, Greg's, Blakey's,
So fucked. And that was rapid.
Yes.
Blakey, and I didn't even know till a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and I heard it was crook, but I didn't know that bad.
Yep.
And Greg is a well-known guy in the community.
Yeah, definitely.
Well-respected. And
for all the right reasons.
100%. Unlike yourself.
Unlike myself, well-known and...
you're respected. Anyway, but he out of the good people in the world, he didn't deserve for that to happen.
No.
Which makes you think all we got is now, and let's enjoy the moment.
Yeah,
because that's all we got.
Yeah, I think that's
so
important.
when you're at the back end of things, to have some key memories like the boat and other things are pretty good. So what are you doing now?
Too much. So I've got a little workshop just over at Berkeley Vale that does classics and collectibles cars. So how that sort of evolved was I promised myself I'd take a year off after the museum, needed a break. I was pretty burnt out, like really burnt out and not real well. So I sort of took a break, and then one of the guys that was at the museum opened a workshop, and stupid he says, "Oh, what about I'll help you?" So I'd go over there and work for him for nothing for a while, and then eventually it come up for sale, and so I thought, oh, well, I'll buy it and I'll hang out there for 12 months or something. And it's been a couple of years. As everyone knows, small business is a struggle. I mean, the costs are ridiculous and the return is not very much.
It's a pay packet at best sometimes.
At best. And so it's sort of starting to wear a bit thin. I'm doing 10, 12-hour days for really nothing. And, I sort of did it because I liked it more than, did I want to make, millions or anything. But it's got to a point where it really is costing me money. So I needed to sort of try something else as well as idiot, because I wasn't working enough hours.
Side hustle.
Yeah, side hustle, which is
In my spare time.
not quite.
I like long walks on the lake. And
Yeah.
barbecues.
So being a car idiot, myself and another couple of guys who are car guys and pretty well respected in the industry as well. Been in talks for a couple of years now on sort of doing a bit of a classic car auction, I suppose. Just because of our knowledge.
Because you do know shit. Like
I do know a bit of stuff, yeah.
But, a couple of times, and I just chuck in there for a sec, my brother got hold of a VM Calais.
Yeah.
I don't you remember the text? It was like 40,000 Ks, V8, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what's it worth? Within a second, but you kind of lowball it because I think you wanted it. But you had a pretty
car salesman at the end of the day. It's not a charity.
But I could, within seconds you gave me the bargain and the probably market price. And if you got that, and I found that helpful.
Yeah.
And he got, actually just on that, first bloke to look at it, bought it, didn't quibble about the price. Yeah. As another one exactly the same. Yeah. Only that one was lower case. So, when I leaned on you, the knowledge you spat out, and you asked some questions I wouldn't have known the answer to, just to qualify it.
I can make some shit up. Don't you worry. I was just guessing. No. But
well, Big Brother thanks you, all right?
Okay. But I feel like a lot of that stuff, nobody really knows the value of these things. It's really just an educated guess, I suppose. And which is where sort of the auction thing, I guess, comes in. The market kind of, bit cliche, but the market dictates the price. Yeah. And so, it's not a bad platform for people who don't want to go through all the crap of selling their car on Marketplace and all that sort of stuff.
So is it a physical... Actually, if anyone sold a car on Marketplace, could have sold, a motorbike or two.
Yes.
You have it for 10, they go, I'll give you 3.
Yeah. Everyone's...
I'll give me 3.
Yeah, everyone's the king of lowballing, like in a message, but if they stand in front of you, they won't bust you for $1.
So is it virtual or is it
both? So what we did was we teamed up with a company called Macquarie Auction Group. They've been wanting to do classic cars for a while. They do a lot of mining machinery, trucks, buses.
So the diner would fit in pretty well then?
Well, trucks, buses.
Mining
equipment. They've been around a long time. They've been around like 50 years or something, and they've been sort of wanting to do it, but with the right people. And so, in negotiation or, talks, really, it's all a verbal agreement. We all sort of promised each other we'd be straight up and play a straight bat. And
what's that like?
Well, that's got to work okay, I think, because the thing with the market is the car market is not getting any easier. We can all talk about the economy all we want and wars and all the political crap that goes on, but the car market isn't necessarily in the short term going to get any easier, I don't think. No. And I feel like a lot of people bought some cars for investments, but investments are traditionally long-term. So, they're not necessarily going to be affected. But there's going to be some people with second and third cars that they probably don't need anymore or need to sell and don't have the experience or skill to deal with the dickheads on Marketplace. And, there's a few guys out there doing classic car auctions and, car auctions and stuff. There's some that do it really well. There's some that don't do it very well, and none of which I'm going to go on here. But we sort of promised ourselves we would try and play it as straight. So if you come to me, say, and said, I've got a 2005 Commodore and it's done 50,000 Ks and I think it's worth $100,000, I wouldn't throw that to auction. I'd just say, listen, I think you're miles away. I believe it's worth X. I'm not the market.
Yeah.
But we'd need to be a bit closer and try and keep it real. And I think that's the problem with the marketplace out there. There's so much hype and this is a record breaking this and a record breaking that, and most of it is all crap. And
well, even if it is all true, you slip into the economy, we're importing people faster than we can house them.
Yep.
The cost of housing is the growth in the cost of housing is far outgrowing wages.
Absolutely.
The cost of energy, park Trump and his bloody, I want the oil.
Yep.
For a second. The cost of energy is high. Inflation's cranking.
Yes.
If you've got a toy in your shed that's worth a few bucks,
yep,
you've probably got a view on what it may have been worth, but at the end of the day, it isn't your house, it isn't your transport, it isn't your food. It's probably a bit expendable. So
yep.
I'd say in the next year or two, there'll be some bargains coming up.
I think so. And look, I used to do this little radio gig with Chris Barth on the ABC.
Oh.
And it was like a talkback thing. People would ring up, ask me questions. And I remember a guy ringing up and he says to me, what's the most important thing to look for in buying a classic car? And I said, buy one you like. And he went, what? And I could tell he was taken back by it because he was talking like every other knucklehead saying investment. Yeah. And my theory on it is, and I still stick by it, if you buy a car you like and you happen to sell it and make some money, that's a bonus. Yeah. But if you lose some money, it doesn't matter. You liked it, right? Yeah. But if you're buying crap because you think it's going to be worth something, I think you're in the market for the wrong reasons. And so I think there's a lot of those cars out there that are going to be sacrificed because, well, I just did it. I just did it myself. I put one of my own cars up to the last auction we had, really because I wasn't really driving it. I've got 7 of them, and I could turn it into cash. Yeah. And I'm just like everyone else. I could use the money more than I could use the car. So. Yeah. So there are a few, there's a few reasons, and we were talking about it. If we kept it real, called it how it is, not, told the cool stories about, I've got a buyer on your car and blah, 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 and hang on to it for a month and all this sort of crap, we would be okay. We put a few cars up at our first auction. We held one recently, online only, which will change eventually, but online only. We sold $1.4 million worth of cars.
Jeez, that's not a bad
it's not a bad thing.
And at a 50% commission, fuck.
Why so little? Why so little? They, so there are still we could talk about, people getting rid of cars, but there are people out there with money or, people out there that still buy them. And we're a consumer economy. Or consumer-based society. We're idiots. We'll buy anything. And, people, so it will happen, and people are selling some of their stuff, and we sold some pretty high-end cars like GT Falcons and RT Chargers, and yet we sold, some $15,000 cars too. So
any motorbikes?
Not yet, but this will help. No,
but hear me out, and I could imagine that, some classic rides, cars, sorry. You mentioned a few, and coming back to what's a good investment, buy a Phase 3 Falcon when it was new.
Yep.
And keep it till now.
Yep.
And
and that's a good investment.
Yeah, 100%.
Buying one now and trying to sell it in 6 months' time, maybe not.
If you had a target for a motorbike, what would it be?
I don't know if there's anything specific. Probably an SP2.
Park the Dyna. Just park that.
Yeah, we'll just call that done and dusted.
It isn't.
Investment is a stretch. But I don't know. Look, anything, I think the Japanese market is always going to be strong in that. So things like I was talking about with, the fire blades and things like that. The things that we as young people, and it's the same with anything.
Frothed on, yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to have it, but we couldn't afford it, or a lot of us couldn't afford them. So, they're the sorts of things that will always be worth money. But, classic bikes and classic cars are very generational.
Yeah.
I say that my kids, for an example, my daughter's just got her L's. She didn't ask me once for a Tirana. She, not once did she say,
Who is she?
Dad, I'd really love a HQ Holden.
Yeah,
It just doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
So, so I think anything in the Japanese market going forward will be strong. And the one thing I did learn with all the, the cars and bikes and all that sort of stuff, if you are going to invest in something, it needs to be world market. So, something that's only available in Australia, don't bother. If it's world market, if Europe is having a hard time, the US is probably okay. If the US is okay, whatever, Australia might be okay and it'll be strong. But if it's world market and things change, there's usually somewhere in the world that's still going okay. And I think that's important. I think world market. So Japanese, Harley, yes, I guess to a degree. Some of the early ones are definitely collectible.
Yeah.
Like some
the
of those,
one Carl got the other day, I think that's Histo plates.
Oh, yeah.
Or could be.
Yeah.
The thing's fucking mint.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Ultra, mint.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know if I was to give any advice, good bikes and cars will always sell.
Yeah.
So if you buy yourself a heap of crap, you're in a bit of trouble from the start, I think. So if you buy a good car or a good bike, they will always sell and they'll always hold their money.
Interesting. We had Tyne Auto Shops for a bit, and I did a car up for a bloke. I won't go into the detail.
Yep.
I said, why are you spending all this money on this? He said, my first shag was in one of these.
Yeah. I think
I'm like, spend away, And actually, what's my point?
Yeah.
My point is sometimes people buy something because it triggers a memory or something, and then there's no money. There's no limit to the money that they'd spend, as long as they got it.
Yes.
But I never forget, I go, oh, that finally made sense to me, because I'm like, this doesn't make sense.
Well, no, we spend crazy amounts of money on our nostalgia.
Yeah.
We just do. And, a little bit off kilter, but I collect and do up BMX bikes. I don't,
I've
you've seen a
that,
few
you
of those.
mad bastard.
So some of them are worth hopefully my wife never watches this, but some of them are worth $8,000-$10,000.
Yeah, right.
But they're kids' bikes. They were just the crap.
Well,
they were just the crap that we rode when we were kids.
Yeah.
But the nostalgia, what's that worth? The memories, what's that worth? I mean, we spent our whole lives on those bikes, and I did one a couple of years ago. Now they did an anniversary ride for the movie BMX Bandits, and I had a gold Diamondback. It was the only one of its kind in the world, worth a lot of money. Like, people were trying to buy it all over the joint, and I rode it in the BMX Bandits nostalgia ride. People couldn't believe I'd do it. I said, what's the point of having it?
Having it if you can't.
Yeah. And my kids rode it at Terrigal BMX track. Again, the memories are worth more. No, well, but the memories are worth more than the bikes. And I think that's the priceless bit, is the memories. And the museum, going back to that, I'll never forget, there's a couple of really good stories, but there was a family standing around an old Valiant, and every one of them was crying. They were all crying. And one of the staff members, volunteers, came over to me and said, we got a problem. And I said, what's that? And he said that the whole family are in tears. Like, there's something bad's gone down.
Is it a smell?
Yeah, can you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you go and see him? And I was like, oh, thanks. So I went over and I said, is everything okay? Genuinely concerned for him. And one of the ladies said, Dad, who was with them, has Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Can't remember his name. Can't remember us. We just walked around. He pointed to a car. I hate telling this story. Pointed to a car and said, and recited how he used to get taken to school in that car. Oh. And they were all beside themselves. I was so emotional because Dad didn't remember them.
Yeah.
But could remember what had happened in this bloody car, and that was one of the things that really rung true as to where the true value is. It's got nothing to do with the car. It's really the emotional attachment or whatever. And same with the bike. I think, people buy some cool bikes because they're cool, or, but the real ones with the real value are the ones that, like you said, like you had one when you were a kid, or you wanted one, or your mate had one and you couldn't afford it, or, all those sorts of things. I I think that's where the true value is in all this stuff, and I worry sometimes that we're losing sight of that. I think that's important.
Well, Jason, I've enjoyed my chat. All the other ones we had have been totally crap. No. But I was interested in the start of your life, and
a little bit off track, but
no,
that feels like my life.
It is.
It's kind of where my life has been.
And actually, after hearing it all and observing what you do and who you are in the world, I think, and you might have another view, but this is Gatesy talking to you.
Yeah.
I'm glad that was your journey because it's made you who you are today. And who you are today is pretty bloody good.
Some days. If you ask my wife, maybe
the
not.
only fucking answer is thanks, Greg.
Yeah, right? Thanks, Greg. Yeah.
So,
thanks. I appreciate that.
It is the moments like that in life that make us who we are.
Yeah.
And there's a resilience in you that is, uncommon. And it all comes from somewhere. And so thanks for sharing your bloody story.
Yeah, sorry for being boring and dragging on. But
no, we fucking hate you.
Yeah,
but I'm interested to see how you go, and if you get some cool bikes in the auction, you better let us know. So how do we find the auction?
So if you go to Macquarie Auction Group, they're online. They're based out of Bathurst.
Yeah.
At the moment, we're doing. There's a physical site, and it's there's physical buildings, and obviously with mining equipment, and they have space for all that stuff. Going forward, the plan is to.
I just bought a D9.
Yeah. You might be looking for a Ducati, but you've just bought yourself a tractor. So good on you. If you ever need to smash some rock, but they so there's a physical space there. It's quite a big property and quite a big space. Eventually, going forward, we plan to hold some in-person auctions. We're going to really shake it up. The plan is to really shake up the auction platform and industry. Keep it real, like I said, keep it straight up, and I think we'll be okay. So online, in-person, simulcast, all that sort of stuff. We're going to have we'll have a variety, and so hopefully there'll be something for everyone. Like I said, the first one was a roaring success, I think, for just one, for the first time. The guys I've got behind me are like amazing. They're proper good guys, and the wealth of knowledge there is, I think, second to none. And that's stuff that money can't buy. Really is, experience. Certainly the auction house is, creditable and I think that's important too. There's nothing worse than sending your $150,000 car to somewhere and have it taken 3 months to get paid and all this sort of crap, which is what happens.
So, have you ever been sort of stood in the mirror in the bathroom and pretended to be an auctioneer? Come on.
No.
I don't know what they fucking say.
I don't
Come
either.
on.
It's funny, the last auction we simulcast, and the guy, Scotty, that does it, he's like proper country. He's from Bathurst.
Yeah.
He's as country as it gets. And, a couple of guys are like, you could sit with him and whatever. I'm like, I could talk fast, but how the hell?
No, they pump it, don't
they? They're just they're a breed of their own. So Scotty does the auctions. I've got another guy, Billy. He's an ex-auctioneer that used to work for another big auction company. He actually owned it. And so there's a wealth experience there as well. Like I said, I feel going forward, nothing is massive overnight, but going forward, we're going to try and build some credibility, and I think we'll be okay. Like good cars and good bikes, they always sell, and if you keep it real, you'll be all right. And the idea is not to just put cars up and bikes up for shits and giggles. We want to sell them too. Like that's our job. So
that shitbox Chimera I got, it's no good.
I'm a Chimera fan.
Oh, Jason, it is a pleasure to chat with you tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out, and
thanks for having me.
I wish you well for the next bit, and I'm glad you're in my circle. And
thank you.
And as like I said in the last thing, when I talked to when we talked to Carl,
Yes.
some advice from Jim Jeffries. Don't be a cunt, all right? And you're not.
No, I try not to be.
You can
I have my moments.
You can be anything you like, but don't be one of them, right?
Yeah.
But listen, thank you, mate. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks, I appreciate
Always
it.
a pleasure. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you.